Full of frustration, full of despair. Two British football fans have had enough. The MLS UK Show.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the MLS UK Show. I'm Henry Hewitt, and as always I'm joined by...
Elliot Holman.
Right, coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about the World Club Cup. We need to discuss LAFC being late entrance into that. Sadly, we need to also discuss the CONCACAF Champions League, and LA Galaxy have finally won a game in MLS. But before that, Elliot, we have tried for the last few weeks. Oh boy, we have tried to record an episode. It seems that fate has meant we haven't been able to, as much as I wanted to. When Atlanta beat Orlando last week, we weren't able to. But we are this week. It's took us half an hour to get recording because even at this late stage, fate is trying to stop us doing it. But before we talk about all the soccer that's been going on, how have you been? I feel like I've not spoken to you in weeks.
Well, yeah, whirlwind. Just nothing to report really. Just casually lost my job. But other than that, all completely fine. Gonna have so much time to do all the podcasts. So watch this space. But yeah, I wanted to do a podcast a couple of weeks ago when Orlando beat Miami 3-0. So yeah, been a while. Lots to catch up on.
Yeah. Before we do discuss that and everything else, I feel we need to just point out that you were very flippant about that, but it is Elliot. Just to explain, Elliot works on the radio here in the UK, and as what is happening with radio around the world. They're moving his show down to London, so Signal One's Signal One's loss, I should say, is MLS UK show's gain, and any other podcast you decide to do.
Absolutely, and that's where we met, and that's where this podcast was born, and it's where we used to secretly record episodes when we shouldn't have done. On to let's not say bigger or better things, just different things like this podcast.
Yeah, back in the day, before we used to film the episodes, we would literally record each podcast in between talking on the radio. So when the songs were on, we'd play like 3 songs in a row to get us through 10 minutes, and we'd record 10 minutes of talking about whatever it was then. Toronto winning MLS Cup.
No wonder I lost my job.
But obviously that was then. This is now. We film it, and that's why we can't do it while Elliot's on the radio. But we can do it on a nice sunny evening in the UK. Right, well, we'll talk about soccer then. And first of all, we need to talk about the World Club Cup. It's coming up. I think we're about 2 weeks away from it. LAFC have been the third and final team from MLS to qualify for the tournament. They beat Club America 2-1 at the weekend. But, Elliot, we need to talk about it because, especially here in the UK, I don't think anyone else is. This is a very underwhelming sort of build up to it. Are you excited for it, or like me, are you just in it for the MLS teams and then carrying on with the rest of your summer?
Yeah, hasn't this been going on for years, or am I like? I just feel like it's been going on for years, but no one really cares. It's the Club World Cup, right?
Yeah, they used to have another version, didn't they? And it was pretty pointless because it was just the European team won it every time, and then no MLS team ever won CONCACAF Champions League, so we never saw anyone in that anyway. But so I suppose this is better because we've got 3 teams: Seattle, Inter Miami, and LAFC. Were you keeping up to date with LAFC's score at the weekend, or did you know they were playing?
I didn't. I watched loads of MLS at the weekend. Loads of MLS teams. I had no idea. I'm just going to be honest. I had no idea. I don't care about it. Don't care about it.
Yeah, well, MLS clearly do because they were very excited that LAFC got in this. Obviously, LAFC fans, as you would expect, are very excited. And I don't want this conversation to take it away from them or Seattle fans or Miami fans, but when I saw this on Sunday morning when I woke up and all the excitement and how they qualified, which was great. They beat them 2-1 after extra time. Got an equaliser in the 89th minute. It was really exciting. But I then thought, no one's talking about this in the UK. It's really underwhelming. And then you look over in the States and know they're hosting it, but it seems a bit more exciting. Obviously, LAFC have now gone in the group stages. They will face Flamengo of Brazil, a Tunisian team who I don't know where to start pronouncing. I don't know which of their 4 names they're going to go by. And Chelsea as well. I think we mentioned this, 6 months ago, whenever the draw was. We were saying, we hope that there's an MLS team versus a Premier League team. It now is. So the Chelsea, the Conference League Cup winners, will be facing our very own LAFC. That's something to look forward to.
That is genuinely exciting. I think that's the saviour, really, especially for an MLS UK show podcast. I've got more interest. But I just think it used to just be Real Madrid playing like another side, and it's always like it would always be Real Madrid that won, and no one really cared, So I think it's nice that we've got a lot of representation. We've got a good chance, and the fact that they're taking on Chelsea is great. So that is kind of where an interest is sparked. But in the run up to this, you'd be amazed how many years this has been running. No one cared. No one's cared before.
Yeah, I think the FIFA president has been going on streams with Speed and all other these PR stunts that they've been doing trying to promote it. The trophy is quite impressive though. If you are unaware, then in Group A, that's where Miami are. They'll be facing Porto and Palmeiras, the Brazilian team, and an Egyptian team. And in Group B, Seattle are also facing a Brazilian team. So this is kind of a mini sort of Leagues Cup, I guess, MLS versus the Brazilian League. But Seattle are also facing PSG and Atletico Madrid. So good luck to Seattle with that one. Seattle fans will have seen at the weekend that their players they're going into this tournament a bit differently maybe to LAFC and Miami. They were wearing shirts at the weekend in the warm-up to protest the profit share of this. So my understanding is, having read the statements that have been released, that basically the Seattle players are unhappy because as it works out, it'll be like a 90-10 split between MLS and the players for the money raised in the Club World Cup. And if any team goes quite far in it, they will, that profit share will get larger to MLS and smaller to the players. Do you think they've got a point? Because this tournament it's just being thrown out there. It's more games. It's, with respect to MLS teams, we are aware that they're not going to be favourites to win this competition. So as good as it might be, it's still a bit of, some people may think it's a bit pointless. Do you think the players should get a higher share?
Did you say the further they go in the tournament, the more money MLS get?
Pretty much, yeah.
So they're trying to deter teams from bothering. Is what's happening. Focus on the league where we want you to be playing your strongest 11 on Apple TV. Am I being cynical? I don't know. I feel like there's probably some truth in that. But yeah, I think this is something, if you were to ask Pep Guardiola about it, the amount of games that have to be played now, are the players paid? They're not paid as much as Manchester City players. So I think they've probably got a bit more of a right to get involved and to have their say. And it kind of all feels a little bit new. And everything in MLS can feel a little bit new sometimes. And there's definitely still a lot of space for things to be molded, reshaped and reworked. And so I think, when you have the opportunity to speak up, you should do so. And MLS is a good league to be in, because it's still in its infancy, really, in comparison to most other leagues. And I think that they'll have an opportunity to rethink it and get it right.
Yeah, and Inter Miami will have plenty of time to concentrate on the league afterwards because they're already 2 games behind, and MLS is continuing while they are in this trophy. So they will have a lot of games to play from July onwards. Just a note on, we mentioned LAFC there. Just one more note on them. Carlos Vela has, or Vela, or whatever anyone wants to have a go with us for pronouncing his name wrong. That Mexican fella Vela has announced his retirement, and he's. I saw somebody online say that he'd be in sort of a Mount Rushmore of MLS. Personally, I wouldn't say he's gonna. He's had as that much of an impact on the league, but he has. You perhaps put him in the top 10, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Fantastic player to watch. I actually found out that he'd retired on Instagram via West Bromwich Albion.
Oh, right.
Posted a picture of him with a terrible shirt sponsor playing for West Brom, and I just thought that is funny because I obviously follow so much MLS, and I found out via West Bromwich Albion.
So good luck in your retirement to former West Bromwich Albion and LAFC and Arsenal striker Carlos Vela. There you go. Possibly the last time we mentioned you on the MLS UK show, and I finally got your name right.
He's going to be on the show next week.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's replacing you.
Hey, why am I getting replaced on everything?
Right, well, let's move to something that I was expecting this to be a bit more of a cheerier segment before the match was played. CONCACAF Champions Cup. We've been big in Vancouver up all season. They have been amazing. They've been terrific. They've got to the final. They beat Inter Miami. Oh, Vancouver, it's a underdog story. You can go to Cruiserfield and you can win there and win the trophy. They lost 5-0, 4-0 down at halftime. It wasn't meant to be, I guess, was it?
I just think don't dwell on it. I think if that's LAFC, if that's Seattle, if that's even Miami, I think we're a little bit disappointed and we're like, oh, I could have gone all the way. The exciting thing for Vancouver is they are top of the Supporters' Shield, 32 points on the board, absolutely flying, and they've got a real opportunity to win MLS, and that's a new thing. That feels new, and if you're a team that's already been there and done that in the last few years, maybe that's not as exciting, but focusing on the league is actually what they should be doing anyway. I think it's a real cliche, or focus on the league. Vancouver, focus on the league. You're going to win it.
Yeah, I wish they'd focused on the league before I wasted my time watching the dreadful match that was Vancouver 0, Minnesota 0. Last week, where Vancouver had an excuse. They quite clearly were concentrating on this final. Minnesota, I think, we're just happy with a draw. But yeah, Vancouver, it's been a great season. It continues to be, and I agree with you. Let's not let it just derail everything that they're doing. They're top of the West. They're in a very good situation to to win the West, but also then go through and try and get to MLS Cup. And it'd be amazing. It'd be really good for a team like Vancouver to do that, because we've got a sort of a group of teams at the very top. Some have got more resources than others, and it just seems that Vancouver, who have always been around the sort of mid-level, they've had a few seasons at the very bottom as well, but for them to be in the position they're in now really shows that, I think it shows to a lot of teams within MLS, probably half the league, that it can be done.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit of inspiration. They feel like they've maybe come from nowhere a little bit, don't they? Certainly not one of the teams that you would have absolutely backed 100% to be firing on all cylinders on all fronts. So maybe we get that from a Chicago next year.
Who knows? We'll talk about Chicago later in the episode.
Excellent, can't wait.
Let's move on to MLS then, because there was a full fixture list. Well, apart from Vancouver and LAFC and two other teams who I can't remember who they were meant to play this weekend. I'll tell you what, we have to start. If there's one place to start in MLS, we have to start in LA, because LA Galaxy, after 16 games, matching the record for the longest winless run, LA Galaxy finally win a game. They beat Real Salt Lake 2-0. Joseph Pansel got his first goal of the season. He made it 2-0. I would say everything's rosy in the LA Galaxy garden again. I don't think they're going to make a playoff, so perhaps not. But what a weight off their shoulders this will be.
Just a little bit. I mean, a huge 3 points. Let's be honest, they needed them. I don't think it's really made a dent in the gap that they need to make up. But it's just such a relief. The last time that we recorded a podcast, they were about to face LAFC, and if you remember, I said there's no way that the coach is still in charge by the end of that LAFC game. They gave the man a new contract. Can we just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, well, that's been on my list because we have still prepped for each episode. We just haven't got round or been able to record it. That has been at the top of my list for the last 2 weeks. Greg Vanney has signed a brand new contract at LA Galaxy. I mean, to us, it's very surprising. We were saying on the last episode, it's probably about time that he gets fired. They've gone bold and give him a new contract. I mean, where do you stand with this? Is it a good thing because it relaxes Greg Vanney? Maybe they go, right, okay, let's write off this season and let's look to next season. Or are you as amazed as I was thinking, wow, this is bold? I thought it was one of those spoof social media accounts at first. I had to go on it and see how many followers this LA Galaxy page had because I thought it was just going to have like 12 and somebody's made it up.
Yeah, I was looking for the blue tick, thinking there's no way this is real. I kind of get it. He's become a Galaxy legend, of course, but it's been such a terrible start to the season. I think there was no doubt in my mind they had justification to part ways with Greg Vanney and say, look, thank you, but isn't, something's gone wrong here. It's basically the same squad. I don't know what's going on. And they've doubled down on it, and fair play. But how does that conversation even go? A new contract is often a reward. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for your achievements. Have an increase in wage. Surely he's not accepting more money for doing such a terrible job.
I think it was one of those where he said, right, Greg, we need a meeting with you. And he's planning it on the night before. He goes in the next morning. He's like, right, okay, they're going to fire me. So you say, right, I want more. I want a good pay package. You can't sack me. I'll stand my ground. It's the players. It's this. And then he's gone into the meeting and they've gone, right, Greg. And he's gone, right, I've got something to say. And they go, oh, before that, let us just say what we need to say. Here's a new contract. And he's just gone. He's shocked. He just pulls a face that he's shocked. That's if it was a Netflix drama, that's what would have happened. Yeah, I'm surprised. I genuinely thought he was on his way out. We said that, ironically, if he drew that game against LAFC, we were saying there were no chance they were going to get anything from it. And they need to move on. They need a change because it's not working. And yeah, well, they quite clearly, they won't publicly say this, but for me, doing that, they've written this season off. Or they've gone, let's see what we can do in, the cup competition. Let's see if we can get some sort of a run going, try and sneak in the playoffs. But yeah, they've got to be looking to next season because if you are looking to this season, you want to change that.
Where can they even finish this season, realistically?
14. They'll finish one place above they are now. We've seen it done. They can't, and the amount of teams that are in the playoffs, I think you've only just got to finish 9th this year. So they could get in the playoffs. It's a hell of an ask after that to try and, win it. But yeah, I don't know. I think they've just got to show it's basically the SKC mode, of what we've seen in the last few years. They've just got to try and have a good end to the season to give fans a little bit of hope, and then hope not to do an SKC and start horrifically the next season as well. Maybe
they creep in like Atlanta.
Maybe, and Atlanta would have to do that again this year. But again, we'll maybe talk about Atlanta later on in the episode. Let's move over to Cincy because it's really interesting at the moment with Cincy because they were doing so well. They are still, second in the, in the East. However, they have lost 2 of the last 3 games, one of those being at Atlanta, amazingly. And they also lost at the weekend against DC United, who I mean, this was a hell of a result for DC. The best part of their season so far is the hot dog record they had at Aldi Field last week against Red Bulls. I mean, 6,000 hot dogs in an evening. I know you Americans like your hot dogs, but that's impressive.
I love that. That's the key to their season. That's the big thing about their season at the minute. Yeah, Cincy. I don't know what to make of Atlanta. I've watched quite a lot of them. Been really disappointed most of the time, and I think it says a lot about the league at the minute, where they're still able to go and nick results here and there, and have ended up having quite a good start to the season on the whole. But they haven't been impressive. So, and especially I think Laf has been disappointing. Cincinnati losing to Atlanta was a surprise for me, and they're starting to slip a little bit down the standings in a very strong Eastern Conference where you can't really make those sorts of mistakes.
No, you can't. I mean, a good thing for Cincinnati is that Denke and Evander seem to be linking up. Denke scored at the weekend with Evander setting him up, and they also linked up in the game against Dallas. Although the game against Dallas, it was a former striker of theirs, Lucha Acosta, that made the headlines. Now, we were going to play this out last week. We were going to do an episode after the midweek games because Atlanta beat Orlando, but it just didn't happen. Stuff happened out on the outside that meant we couldn't. But we got a friend of ours, Joe Shaw, who is a Dallas fan, and now we saw him at the Football Content Awards in Liverpool 2 years ago, I think now, and we stayed in touch with him. I messaged him to say, well, can you send us a voice note and we'll play it out on the podcast of what you think of Dallas' season so far? And he said, well, I'm actually going to Cincinnati tonight to the match, so I can do it after that. I was like, brilliant. And then the stuff happened with Acosta, and we were like, great. We have a man, we have an eye on the stadium, we've got a man on the field. This is like a news anchor where we go, right, we're going to cross live now. I'm going to do it actually because we're going to play the voice note out. We are going to cross live now, recorded last week, to Joe Shaw, who is going to tell us all about Acosta being booed by the Cincy fans on his return with Dallas.
Hey Henry, hey Elliot, this is Joe Shaw. I just got home from TQL Stadium where I got to see FC Dallas play FC Cincinnati to a wild 3-3 draw in person. It was incredible. The Lucho hate was intense in a way that I didn't think was going to happen. I've occasionally seen fans boo a returning player. I've never seen them outright boo as much as possible, as long as possible, every single time Lucho touched the ball. And it only intensified as the game went on and FC Dallas got the draw twice, came back to tie it twice and maybe, was getting close to getting the winner. Who knows? But man, and especially if Lucho did something that was perceived to be, out of line, like delaying the ball or fouling one of the Cincy players, the boos were so loud at one point, they were rocking the stadium. And I don't think that comes through in the broadcast like it did in person, but I was up in the press box and it was shaking with the boos. Back to y'all.
So thanks, Joe, for that. He actually said later on in the voice note that he said Lucho is, at the moment, it's not quite working with Dallas because he's used to playing with better players. So he's basically saying that the rest of the Dallas team need to up their game because Lucho plays better when he plays with better players, like he did at Cincy. So thanks, Joe, for that. But Elliot, obviously this was the big story of midweek last week. But you've had a few days to reflect on it. Do you think Cincy fans were right to boo Lucho Acosta, or do you think they should, because he said after the game, he came out in the interview afterwards and said, well, we got Supporter Shield, we got quite far in the playoffs, we did really well for him, and you should give me a bit more respect.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a culture of that in Europe. Players leave, they come back, they get booed, and it's often because they've left to go and pursue, move to a team they perceive to be bigger, move on to wages that are bigger, further their career and leave the other club behind, who probably feel like they helped them on their way and were used a little bit as a stepping stone. In MLS, teams just move and move and move. I just feel like it's different, isn't it? I think I think that everything's so free moving over there. I don't think you can take it too personally. He had an incredible time with Cincy, who, let's be honest, didn't start well in MLS, and he was part of the reason that they turned things around. So it seems a little bit of a shame to me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You never want to hear that a player wants to leave, but it's, again, Cincy a second. They've got Evander, they've got Denke in the team. You know, it's not like they've been left with nothing. They've, you could argue, improved, actually, the strike force, and now are in a better position to perhaps challenge MLS Cups. So I do get it from the Cincy fans. There might be a bit of pantomime about it. It might be just trying to put him off his game, but you know, I mean, Acosta's a really good player, so I don't think it's going to be on his mind too much. And Cincy, well, they lost the next game, but I think the next game they win, then yeah, I think it'll all be forgotten about. Right, well, let's head to Florida then. We're going to talk about your team in a moment, who have had a really poor week, but a team who's had a great week is Inter Miami, winning 5-1 against Columbus. Messi has scored 2 again. He got 3 assists. He's scored 10 goals in 13 games. He's got 31 goals in 38 games, which now means he's Inter Miami's record goal scorer. And in the last 12 goals that Miami have scored, Messi has been involved in 9 of them. So Messi did say after that Orlando game that we all need to book their ideas up, and it seems he's the man who's doing it.
Well, Leo, you're welcome. The man's a winner, and you know, he wants to put the team on his back and he wants to lead them to glory. And what needed to happen was them to get thumped by Orlando, embarrassed. And you know, it's turned things around. So you are welcome, Leo. You are welcome, my friend.
Well, whether you'd use it as the Orlando game or that free kick that he scored against Philadelphia, because it seems from the 87th minute in that game when they were losing 3-1, ended up drawing the game, and since then they've beat Montreal 4-2 and Columbus 5-1. So they're scoring goals, they're back to winning ways. A concern that they're not keeping any clean sheets, maybe, but I guess if you're scoring 5s and 4s every game, then you don't really need to, do you?
Yeah, thrills and spills. One of the most entertaining sides in the league. 36 goals scored, 27 conceded. So they're on +9 at the minute. So yeah, it's an it's an interesting watch with Miami. You never really quite know which Miami's going to turn up. But Messi always does, always turns up, and yeah, those goals were phenomenal, weren't they, at the weekend?
They were, yeah. Columbus has conceded a lot of goals recently. They've 5 in this game. They lost 3-2 against Charlotte, so that's 8, and then 2-2 against Nashville. That's 10. Quick maths for you there. But 10 goals in 3 games, and they've dropped down to 5th. Now, you still think that Columbus will be fine. Columbus will be in the playoffs. I think they'll add in the summer to the roster, but you know, obviously Wilfred Nancy, very good coach, has done amazing things for Columbus. But one of the things at the start of the season that was said about Columbus was maybe a lack of depth. You know, a few players have gone out. Have they replaced them? I guess weeks like this is going to start that conversation again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But they're going to be fine, and they play a great brand of football. And I think they're a team that need to stick to that. You know, they're a team that should double down. Don't panic. Keep doing what you do. You know, they're going to be fine. They lost players, and and they could do with strengthening a little bit. But you know, the coach is not the problem. Their brand of football is fantastic, and they just need to stick at it, and they're going to be absolutely fine.
Right, well, that's almost it for us, but we just need to run through a few more teams. Let's just end the show on a few more teams to talk about. Well, let's talk about Orlando. Let's stay in Florida. What's happened? How many games? You haven't lost since March 2nd, and now you've lost 2 in a week. Gillespie's throwing balls into the goal. Your defence is not as good as it was. What's happening, Elliot?
Yeah, probably sitting around where I expected us to be now. I think this week's balanced it out a little bit, if we're being really honest, being really, really fair about it. I think there's some key players missing. Probably around, probably in the midfield more than ever. the defense still worries me. There's some real bright sparks in that team. There's some amazing players in this Orlando side. There really is, but there are some gaps, and I don't know how easy they're going to be to plug at this point. But they need to figure it out, because it's a long season, and you are going to have dips. You are going to have weeks where you pick up a couple of losses, but they need to bounce back, and they can do this. This Orlando side have had a much better start to the year than in the last 3 seasons. So hopefully Oscar gets them firing again, and all will be right in the world.
Well, a team who are firing is Chicago. Pardon the pun with that one. But 3-1 win at Orlando. So I'll read this out to you, and then I'll end it on where they are in the table. Third win in 4. Zinkenagle scored in these last 4 games. Kuiper's scored 2 at the weekend, so he's got 10 goals, which matched his tally from last year. But this 11th in the East, it's like there's an invisible line that Chicago can't cross, and no matter how well they're doing, they will never be above 10th. Like recent form, they've been great, and then you look at the table, and it's like, oh well, actually they're not near. I mean, they are within touching distance of the playoffs, so that could all change this weekend. But still, I'm like, how are they 11th?
Yeah, I agree. I think, when I've watched them 3 or 4 times this year, and they've looked good as well. So it does feel like whatever they do is never going to be enough.
If we talk about Orlando, we're going to talk about my team, Atlanta. Before the 3 home games that they had Philly, Orlando, and Cincy. I said, Atlanta, home form has been dreadful. They need to start winning games. They've got to win at least 1. They've won 2 of them, and then followed it up with a 2-0 defeat against New York Red Bulls. Miguel Almiron just as a blind pass to one of their players after 3 minutes, and obviously Harper scored from it. And Choupo-Moting, who's done well this season, made it 2-0. So I think that's pretty much where we are with Atlanta this season.
There's too many problems with that Atlanta team. I think back in the day, it might have felt like I was poking fun, but for me, there's a lot of changes. Spent a lot of money as well, especially up top. I've watched a couple of games where Lath's not even got a shot on target. That's worrying for me. And he's had the service as well. I forget which game it was that I watched last weekend. I can't remember who they played, but I watched Atlanta, and he literally had chance after chance. Just could not hit the target. That goes on much longer, and it starts to become a real thing, and it's a real worry because they're not exactly tight at the back.
No, you're right. I don't have anything else to add to that, to be honest.
How depressing.
Yeah. Right, well, let's end it on a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for St. Louis. Now, we don't get much right on this podcast, but we did say in episode 1, we don't think Olaf Melberg will last the season. I didn't think it would only be 16 games, I've got to be honest with you. I thought it'd been a lot closer to maybe September time, but he hasn't lasted the season. St. Louis find themselves in 14th in the West, being saved by LA Galaxy's poor form. But they have followed it up with a win this weekend. They won against San Jose. David Critchley is in charge. Now, David Critchley is a MLS UK guy who's in MLS. He was born in Liverpool, but has gone through the sort of college soccer route in the States. He was manager of St. Louis 2, and now he is in interim charge of St. Louis City 1, I guess. But João Klaus, I wanted to mention him, second goal of the season. He's so important to St. Louis, and when he's not scoring, he's not performing, he is a big, literally, because he's quite tall, but a big player for them, isn't he? And they need him kicking.
Yeah, absolutely. That first season was incredible, wasn't it? No one knew how to handle them or him. And he is crucial. He is the man that they need to get firing. And it's funny because we were just talking about Chicago and how it feels like Chicago having a great season. St. Louis, arguably, sat their manager and arguably still doing a little bit better. So it's such a bizarre league, isn't it? It's so weird. But yeah, St. Louis, hopefully a little bit of a turning point. I think they just set very high standards for themselves, and that's fine. That's okay. They came into the league and blew everybody away, surpassed all expectations, and fair play. They're saying this isn't good enough.
Yeah, and we'll see how they do now going forward into the summer. Can they claw back to a playoff place? I don't know, but we'll see who they hire as the new head coach. Right, well, that's it from us for this week. We'll try and be back next week and not have a few week gap again. It all depends on what goes on off the microphones, I guess, outside of these rooms that we record in. But before we go, if you've enjoyed the show, then please, if you're listening on your podcast provider, do us a favour. Go on, leave us a review, leave us a rating. But Elliot, there's one rule and one rule only. 5
stars only, and then we'll give you a new contract.
Old LA Galaxy style. Not the contract, though, that's new. If you are watching on YouTube, then please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Comment on it. Tell us what you think of what we've said. Tell us what you think about the World Club Cup. Are you excited about it? Are you in the States or Canada? Are you excited about it there? Is it a different feel to what it is here in the UK? Because, yeah, honestly, 2 weeks away and no one's really mentioning it at all. But we'll be back next time. Maybe talking about the Club World Cup, maybe talking just about MLS. We will definitely not be talking about the CONCACAF Champions Cup, though, because that's dead and gone. Until then, I've been Henry Hewitt.
It's dead to us. I've been Elliot Holman.
See ya.